We're going to start this for those that have been on Job Talks before with us. I really appreciate you joining us again. It's intended to be interactive, so any questions that you have, just unmute your button and fire away. We really don't have a formal agenda here other than trying to answer as many questions as we can for you as we hop through this. Today we're going to cover resumes, do's and don'ts. One of my favorite topics, resumes, a one-dimensional representation of multidimensional human beings. So it can be tricky at times. So look forward to fielding your questions and give you really 7 key do's and don'ts in this area. For those that just popped in, if you make sure you hit your mute button, I'd appreciate it. But if you've got a question, please unmute and hit it any time. Again, my name's Matt Peal. Welcome to Job Talk, one of the partners here at the Grand Rapids office of Impact Business Group. From an agenda standpoint, I covered this briefly. We'll cover job descriptions, resume length, covering your gaps in work history, how to reflect contract work, the desired location you reside in or targeting to move to, and then the social media aspect, LinkedIn, how employers do their due diligence to do a little digging on yourself. Again, Impact Business Group, 2 office locations, Grand Rapids and Tampa, Florida. Our core focus is IT, engineering, accounting, finance, although we do touch operations, administrative, and HR. More information about us, please hit our website, impactbusinessgroup.com. And like I said earlier on, this is meant to be interactive. Please unmute and ask any questions at any time that you may have as we cover the resumes and what you should and shouldn't have on there. The 7 key do's and don'ts, we pulled this information from some of our third-party providers, resume search engines, so hopefully you'll find this helpful and constructive as you build your resume. Job description. The number one thing that we encourage people to do is at least have 5 bullets under each job that you're currently working with or for. We want you to include some information on there about who that company is and what they do. I know I've used this example in the past. Most people here in West Michigan know who Steelcase is, but we still want you to represent who they are, how large the team is, and what area you're in within Steelcase. The bullets should show what your role is, specific tools and technologies that you worked on, and what those specific achievements were. We call it the STAR methodology. That situation, the task, the specific action that you were a part of, and what was the result of that project. The biggest don't is don't cut and paste. Don't use the same responsibilities for each job. That cookie-cutter approach tends to turn the reader off. Second, do's and don't, resume length. For college grads, certainly you have less to speak about, and that resume should be 1 page at most. But as your experience grows, as your story grows, shall we say, you want to make sure you include that information. If your resume goes 3 pages long, it's okay. Anything more than 3 pages, you could lose that audience. But, as I said here in the bottom, as far as the don'ts, if you've got 15-plus work history, reduce the number of bullets versus lopping off some of those experiences or work history you've had. In other words, let your current position, last 2 positions, take up majority of the bullets in the resume space. If you get into that 5, 6 pages, it can be viewed as fluff. Okay? Work history gaps, a question we get all the time. If there's a gap, whether it be I took on a contract role or a gap that, quite frankly, I was looking for a job, and that could have been 1 month or 3 months or 6 months, don't leave that gap. Account for it. If it's a contract role or if you're off finishing your degree, include that into that history so the reader doesn't look through it and say, okay, what was wrong here? What happened from 2012 to 2013? Don't leave those parts of your work history or what you were doing unexplained. In other words, don't leave it to interpretation for the reader. Contract work, I talked about this a little bit 2 slides ago. A lot of folks will leave that off because they don't want to look like they're a job hopper, and an employer will look at the number of changes and view you as non-committed. If it is a contract role, include it. Just put in parentheses next to what that company was or the company's name or your role was, and just put in parentheses, contract role. But you still want to include what your role was. Again, back to the STAR methodology, that our situation, the task, your specific actions on that project and the results. Location, we see this a lot in the Florida market. Florida's a very transient area. Everyone from the Midwest wants to get there in the summertime or the wintertime. So what you want to do is put your current city, no matter where you're coming from or where you live, but also include what your target city is. If you're applying to a job in Tampa but you live here in Michigan, put your Michigan address, but target relocation to the Tampa area. We want to make sure you're letting that one-dimensional resume inform the HR manager or the hiring manager where you want to go or what you're open to doing, whether it be relocation or whatnot. Okay. The other big one in this area is the email addresses. Yes, somebody from their college days or their 20s that had fratboy@whatever.com might be a fun email to banter back and forth on your social media accounts. But as it pertains to a potential employer, hop onto Google or Gmail or Yahoo and pick an email convention that's professional, and don't let the reader of that document of your resume make a judgment that frat boy is giving off perception that you don't want them to read into. Last but not least on that, make sure you check your spam folder so you don't miss an email from a potential employer. It just depends on how things are whitelisted or blacklisted and where they fall. But we do find a lot of email correspondence both from the client organizations as well as the candidates ending up into the spam folder. So make sure you check that regularly. LinkedIn, social media, make sure your LinkedIn profile matches your resume in terms of titles, dates, and employment. They should be documents that are run in parallel. Hiring managers will look on LinkedIn to do not only backdrop and see how you're connected to see if they know people that you've worked with in the past. So you want to make sure that the resume you submit and your LinkedIn profiles match. Don't include your entire work history on your resume. If it's too lengthy or not relevant on LinkedIn, again, it's okay just to have company name and title. You don't have to give the 10 to 15 bullets, outlining your last 7 positions. Again, the employers will go online and look at your LinkedIn if they need more information or there's a gap that they don't understand. Social media, it's just a treacherous road these days as employers are looking into all social media aspects to dig into about potential candidates. Be cautious of photos. Be cautious of, your Twitter handles. What you do in your personal life is obviously your personal business. But do know that hiring managers will do a Google search. They will look at your social media. They will see what you're about, see what you stand for, and make those decisions. Don't post anything publicly you would not want HR to see. We're seeing in the news all over for just in the small sliver of college athletics where they've got a compliance department dedicated to this entire space, so nothing can be construed negatively about an institution or an individual within that institution. So be smart, be cautious. When in doubt, don't post it. What's next? Obviously, I want to field your questions, but a recording will be on our website. If there's any other questions that you have, don't hesitate to email them to me. Our job board is available as well. Referral program that we've touched on a number of times, and then our newsletter. I encourage you to sign up for it. Follow some of the happenings in the marketplace. Obviously, career search tips are always included in that for you. So hopefully you find that beneficial. Are there any questions I can answer for anybody at this point regarding resumes?
Hello, this is Jeff Chikowski, and I've been looking for a job for more than 3 months, and I wanted to know how often do you update your resume, and when the gap is increasingly more from your previous work experience, how do you explain that on your resume, and then how would you correct that also on the cover letter when you're sending to companies? Thank you.
I mean, it's a good question. Is the gap insurmountable of being out of work for 4 months? It's not. And how you address it is honest. This is what I have been doing. These are the roles I've applied for in the last 4 months. I would not adjust the resume or cover letter to try and explain that gap. Now, if you've been picking up temporary work or contract work during that time frame, you certainly want to put it on there, from February to present, doing contract or temporary work. So there's some accountability and some, representation of what you have been doing during this 4-month period. But revamping the resume to try and get a different income or outcome, I should say, I don't recommend it. If you're comfortable with your resume, if the resume reflects your skills, companies you work for, what that specific role is that you did for them, then I wouldn't revamp the resume.
Now, what about one last question to that is that if you took work that has nothing to do with your previous experience, retail, so forth, logistics, do you add that on there also to show as the buffer between time periods? Sir?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I would. Again, using the last 4 months as an example, I'd say February 2018 to present, temporary work, unrelated. So I'm getting a chat that's coming in. You can't hear the question, so I apologize about that. So I'll do a better job of repeating the question then, because it sounds like your question's not coming through to everybody. Are there any other questions I can try and answer?
Yes, my name is Kristen. I have a question about the email addresses.
Okay.
My old Hotmail address was appropriate because it's my name and it doesn't have any goofy college name or anything. But
okay.
I've been reading articles lately saying that Hotmail is outdated and it shows my age because it started in the 90s, and that just from that I will be overlooked. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't, and let me just repeat the question in case people cannot hear the question that you had, and I'll summarize and say her question was, is Hotmail still a suitable email address? She's getting some feedback that says Hotmail shows her age or shows that she's out of touch. I guess two things on that. Most of the employers that we're working with are looking for experience, are looking for some depth in the candidates that they're interviewing. I've never heard somebody in the 20 years of recruiting screen somebody out because they had a Hotmail account. In fact, never heard somebody even make a joke about it. So from the seat I sit in the small world that I sit, it's never been an issue. I would twist that and say if that is the feedback, 90% of the organizations we're looking and working with are looking for somebody with some teeth and some seasoning in their background. So I wouldn't view that as a negative at all. Hotmail's okay.
Thank you. Just a kind of a compliment to your organization. You're one of the few recruiting agencies that has always been very positive about my length of experience and amount of experience because I'm finding on the job boards that most of the employers, and they're using polling questions to weed out people. They won't even open your resume. It says 5 to 7 years experience, no more than 10 years experience. but impact has not indicated that to me at all. They've been very positive, so I just wanted to mention that. Thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate the comment, and again, I can't reiterate enough. Most of the employers that we are looking for are looking for a greater number of years of experience than 5. They are looking for functional and industry experience as well. So the misnomer of, at least when I got out of school in the early 90s, the misnomer of the aging workforce being pushed out and the pendulum being swung to the college grad has changed. It definitely is a different time and a different world for the college grad, and for us folks, me included, with more experience and bandwidth, the job market is very healthy. Are there any other questions I can try and answer? Can anyone even tell me if you could shoot me a quick chat message as well, if you were able to hear those questions, I'd appreciate it. I'm trying to fix the audio as we go here. All right. Any other questions? Well, again, I appreciate everybody's time. Don't hesitate to email me any additional questions that you may have. Encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. Go to our website for a complete listing of opportunities that we're searching for today. Everybody have a great day. Thank you for joining us.